So hi, I'm Elaine, and we've been having a little bit of a connection issues with the summit page and Zoom. So we don't have a ton of participants at the moment, but we do have one person who managed to find us right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and start talking and hope other people find us. And if they don't, they can hear the recording. So Marianne Travis, I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute if you want to unmute yourself and talk about what you found most useful of the talks that you listened to. And if you don't want to unmute yourself and talk, you can type it into the chat box and I'll read it. I had a ton of fun choosing these speakers for you. Some of them are people that I've known forever, and you probably got that if you listened to the talk with Joan Gary, who I teased about having the length of her relationship mistaken on her website. Marianne, you have unmuted yourself. Hi.
Yes, finally I figured it out. Thank you very much for I don't know how I got on your mailing list, but I'm very grateful for that. I got a lot out of all the speakers, a lot of good hints, you know, like Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
Gotta keep going. I really got so much out of it that I think my point of view was changed this week.
Excellent.
Direction. Yeah.
I can't ask for anything better. How do you use writing in your work or in your life? How do you use storytelling?
Right now, writing in my work is procedures and audit reports and emails, that type of thing. I play around with the scattering of prose that helps me to just to get stuff out, so I'm not holding on to it in my head.
Yes.
And I got a lot out of who was the last woman?
Denise
Jacobs, and
about
changing your perspective, and yeah.
That's why I put her last, because, well, she was also the last interview I did, but she just, I just rocketed out of that interview with so much energy and hope and creativity that I hoped that would resonate for other people. So I'm glad that did for you.
Yes, definitely.
That's fabulous. Did anything you hear surprise you? You're like, I never thought of that before.
Probably there were a lot of things. I was taking lots of notes.
Excellent.
As well as other things like the books that they mentioned and the TED Talks, and also I've noticed a lot how story is a part of everyone's lives.
Yeah.
And how I do have a lot of story in me. I need to practice and get that out.
Yes, excellent. We've got a new storyteller in the world. That's fabulous. Yeah, you know, I've worked with story for 15,000 years. No, I'm not quite that old. But I've been writing professionally, telling stories, writing speeches for more than 25 years now, and it really is amazing how much information you can convey through a story rather than through just saying, you know, ABC. I mean, I'm sure when you're writing an audit report, you have to be very factual and very this, then that. But if you were talking to a group about your audit reports, or about, you know, trends that you're seeing in audit reports, you wouldn't want to go ABC. You might want to find a story that pulls the trend together and say, well, you know, this one thing happened and they did this thing and it was not, it was not the greatest thing to do. So we talked to them and pulled them back, and now everything's great. And that's a trend that I'm seeing. Or, we're seeing a trend of people really sticking to compliance, and that's really good because, they don't want to end up in jail. But, lots of people think of auditing as a sort of dry profession. I've written for a professional services firm for the last 13 years. So I know that there's a lot of stories behind the data. You just need to sort of look at it.
And even to use storytelling when I'm training my auditors.
Especially
use that
training.
a little bit more, yeah.
Yes. Because that gets in and stays rather than, yes, we all learned how to add when we were in, grammar school, and we memorized maybe the times tables or whatever. But really, for more complex concepts, story's really what you want to take it in and keep it.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you think you're gonna move going forward? How do you think that all that you've learned might inform your life going forward, or your hobby?
Well, starting by making a commitment to write every day, whether it's 5 minutes or till I'm done. I'll start with a journal, and just one of the speakers said something about having an electronic file where she just puts all these ideas and stuff, and so I have to figure out where that's going to be for me.
Uh-huh.
I know for me, writing is very tactile. So I did buy recently a fountain pen to aid with that, because I like fountain pens, and it's always nice to have a good pen. But I've also learned over the past 20 years to write using a keyboard. So I can utilize the electronics as well. But starting tonight when I get home from work, doing personal writing every day. I guess I should say that and define that, because not I write all the time for my job,
for work,
but the personal stuff I need to write more of.
Yep. Yeah, that's fabulous. I'm really, really glad to hear that, Marianne. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Sarafina. We are a small group because people are having trouble finding us. I think we are not as connected to the website as we thought we were going to be. So if you would feel like you want to share what you learned from the talks you listened to, you can either unmute yourself or you can type it into the chat box. Anything that surprised you, anything that you're going to use moving forward. I know you're a visual artist, so you know how to tell stories with your camera, but how are you going to use storytelling with the rest of your work and life, and off the books work, or off, what is that stuff you call when you're not getting paid to do something? Hobby, free time. I don't have enough of it, obviously. Yeah, so I will, I hope that you who are here and you who are listening to this on the replay, give a listen to Sabina Nawaz's talk. The last time I checked, she had the most upvotes, and it's pretty tough field, because everybody really brought their A game when they talked to me. But Sabina was like double the nearest well, I wouldn't want to call them competitor, but the other nearest talk. So Sabina and Denise's talk was great. I mean, I enjoy talking to all of the women that I talked to. And it's great to think that people are going to take this, like Marianne, and actually move center writing more in in their lives, and get that commitment to writing every day, whether it's 5 minutes or moving on to 15, 20. Hi, Emily. Speaking of people who've made a commitment to making writing a daily part of their life. If you wanna talk about your takeaways from the salon, Emily, feel free to unmute yourself or type it into the chat box, and I can read it out. So, yeah, I did these interviews from maybe April through September, and you know, it took a while because I wanted to find the absolutely right people. I could fill up a salon from, you know, just my LinkedIn, right, or the people that I know on Facebook, but I wanted to make sure that I brought you people who were excellent storytellers, really believed in the power of story, and were using it to impact the world. And so Sarafina has a post-it on her office wall that says, "Inner doubt cannot be fixed with outer approval." I believe that that's from Sam Bennett, who is not related to me. And I believe that when she said that, I said that I was going to put a post-it on the wall saying, "Inner doubt cannot be fixed with outer approval." It's absolutely right. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, and you know, it doesn't have to be a very big belief, right? It just needs to be the belief that you deserve to take 5 minutes to write for yourself, and that you're going to deserve that every day. That's a tiny little belief that you can start with. And I think Dale Trumbore's talk is another great one for people who are struggling with creativity and belief in herself. Her book that Dale wrote, Staying Composed, is really fabulous, and I'm going to be recommending it. I already am recommending it to people right alongside Liz Gilbert's Big Magic, as a great book to help you overcome whatever fear blocks you have. Hi, Amanda. If any of you feel like you want to unmute yourself and talk about the takeaways from the salon, anything that surprised you, or anything that really stuck out for you, you can either unmute yourself or you can type it into the chat room. I see you found the chat. Emily.
Yeah. Hi. Sorry I'm late. I had a hard time finding you.
I know.
I'm glad I did.
Thank you.
I haven't actually, I'm in the middle of looking up for some of the replays. 6 a.m. is really early West Coast. So, but what I really appreciated about your selection of interviews is that these were from people who were writing things that were very personal, and was about personal stuff, but it was also like with Joan Gary and Judy Gittenstein, people who are talk about speeches, and in Joan's, thing, it was about how story fits into nonprofits.
Right.
And I found that, as you probably know, I found that so helpful because I'm living in both of those worlds as well.
Right.
Personal stuff, looking at personal essays, but also writing professionally in my profession, which happens to be in nonprofits. So I just wanted to call out and thank you for including such a broad range of people talking about stories. And then the other thing about about all of this is that whether they were talking about stories within that professional setting of writing speeches, or using this within a nonprofit and advocacy and everything else, or personal, there were themes about writing stories that traveled through all of these. And I found that really fascinating and very, I guess, supportive, encouraging, that you can you can learn these skills.
Yes.
It's coming someplace else, but you can learn these skills and apply it whether you are writing personal essays or you're writing professionally. And I just love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, storytelling, I mean, sometimes you sit down and you write it, and sometimes it just comes out of your mouth. And when you're talking to somebody, and, so it's a good skill to learn, whether it's something that ad-libs out of your mouth or whether it's something you give, a great deal of thought to, like a TED Talk or something like that. Obviously, you're not going to ad-lib a TED Talk. Although I think that Brene Brown ad-libbed her the first one, but that's not something I would recommend, and Ted wouldn't recommend it either. So thank you. Yeah, and you've been working on a daily writing commitment lately, haven't you?
Sorry, I muted myself again.
That's okay.
I'm trying.
Yep.
I'm working towards that. Let's put it that way. I'm working towards that. And I did find listening to something every day, whether I could listen to all of them every day, but I did find this to be very inspiring. And I started getting ideas for stories and hopefully finding little times to write down at least the ideas if I wasn't going to be able to actually write the story. So
perfect.
I just wanted to point out, I think it's a coincidence. I have no idea. But on the same day that Joan Gary gave her talk about nonprofits, I am part of her nonprofit leadership lab.
Oh, great.
And they started we're in a book club for Dan Portnoy's book about, I'm not even sure what the title is anymore, but I think it's Story and Nonprofits or something. Tell stories in nonprofits. And it was very interesting to go from hearing Joan talk about storytelling and then going to her very own book club session that evening talking about the actual pieces of how to put a story together for nonprofits. So all in all, very inspiring.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Yes.
All right, let's see. What else? I think Amanda dropped off. Marianne's already talked. Sarafina's in love with Sam Bennett, and who can blame her? And then there's me. So what else do I need to tell you? If you want to, I'll send out an email shortly about the lifetime access to the talk. So if you've missed some and you want to catch up on them, it's still going to be $49. That's fine. If you want to do some more in-depth work with me, I have some coaching programs. It's actually just one coaching program, 2 different lengths. So I have a 3-month coaching program and a 6-month coaching program, and I'm only accepting a couple of people at a time because it's one-on-one coaching, and so it's it's pretty time intensive for me. But we're going to put up the link to the application. It's for those of you who are listening to the replay. It's bit.ly/Bennett 2 N's 2 T's coaching. Susan just put it up on our group chat. So you can go there. If you go there, you fill out your application by Tuesday. I will get you. We'll add an extra coaching session to the package. So we'll have a 90-minute chat to begin the session or to begin the package for the 6-month program only. So if you sign up for the 6-month program, you'll get 6 months of coaching from me plus a 90-minute intensive where we can talk about what you want to get out of it, what you want to work on for the next 6 months, and sort of figure out what kind of input you're going to need from me, if you're going to want some special exercises to do, or if we just work on what you're working on going forward. So it's all individualized, all tailored to you, and only a couple people slots available. So sign up if you want to, or fill out the application if you want to. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes, and then I will get in touch with you if you like. And yeah, and then once those slots are filled, I'll be putting people on a waiting list. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if you just want to type a number in the chat box, 10 being the best, how much did this exceed your expectations? Was it about what you expected? So 1 would be, God, I'll never do this again. 5 is about what I expected. 20. I like that you don't understand math, Marianne. No. Thank you. And Sarafina says it's a 10. It's a 10. Excellent. Well, that averages out to 20. Good. And would you, I don't know, I'm not going to do this again, this Salon thing again soon, but would you like another salon at some point in the future? And if so, do you have any suggestions of what kind of theme you'd like? I hate it when people ask me that question too. I am interested in another salon. Yes. Well, I'm glad for that, Marianne. Thank you. There will be another salon. It will look different than this one. And it will, I'll just, reminds me of my weekly what? Emily, thank you. Emily was in a program I did called the Weekly What, where I sent out analyses of great pieces of writing, journalism or speeches or essays. I think there was even a restaurant review and a Twitter feed, Twitter string, Twitter, whatever, some Twitter stuff. And so to analyze how that good writing happens, maybe I'll release that again. How storytelling can save your life. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Sharing stories can change your life, and it can change somebody else's life too. And that's something I think Marianne was saying before some of you joined, was that this week of listening to these speakers has really given her a different attitude on storytelling, and gonna help her make a commitment to telling her own story or doing her own writing. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Sarafina. Storytelling can save your life. It's 100% true. All right, well, so the bit.ly/Bennett coaching is the, thank you, Susan, again. Thank you, Susan, for putting this whole thing together. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without you. And thank you all for finding us, for trekking over the mountains and through the rivers of internet land to find us on this Zoom link. And I really appreciate you, and I'm glad that you were able to. Oh, Marianne, thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you too, for all of you, and those of you listening on the replay as well. This has been a great experience, very fulfilling for me, and way fun to talk with some of my smart folks. Does anybody have any more questions before I say goodbye?
There we go.
All right.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I just wanted to say there were a couple of women who were talking about music.
Yes, Dale.
And my sisters and I were pretty recently, within the last few months, I guess my sister sent through a text to both of us, to her twin and I. And it was, she said, sing this to the sounds of silence. And it was about menopause. And we each had to write a verse. And that I wrote down and I kept track of. And that is something that can be part of my storytelling with my family.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's very fun. You know, when you talk about storytelling and family, you remind me of a woman I worked with a couple of years ago, and she hadn't been doing any writing, really any personal writing at all. But she did a 90-day writing challenge that I hosted, and she started writing stories about her family. And her father lives in London, and she was in, Western Canada. And so every once in a while she'd fly over and visit him and tell him the stories that she'd written and get some more stories from him. And then he passed away. But she said that the time that she'd spent with him telling the stories was so precious to her, and that it wasn't something she would have done if she hadn't been working in that program with me. So that's, you never know where you're going to get the support or the reward. Reward is the wrong word. The energy back from the work that you're doing. But it can be quite wonderful. So I'm glad you got to connect with your sisters on the menopause song. And yeah, that's wonderful. I can't imagine calling menopause my old friend, but what you gonna do? All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here and for participating in the salon. And I'm so glad that you found some value in it. And do remember that inner doubt cannot be fixed without our approval, although I approve of you all. Have a great weekend. Bye.